Reworks in Tower Defense Simulator were uncommon back in the early days of the game, only occurring in large overhaul updates or small dedicated updates. But towards the end of 2023 and present day, we've been getting a plethora of reworks, rebalances, and an entirely new consumable system that the player themselves can use during the match to fight zombies. These all sound like great additions to the game, right? Unused towers get a chance to show off their abilities, new towers bring in new mechanics to be used in-game, and consumables allow players to potentially salvage a losing game. These features all sound like great ways to change up gameplay and will possibly affect TDS in the future, right? The problem with all these buffs and reworks is that they all make their corresponding towers stronger. Only a few rebalances have made their towers weaker in the past updates. The issue of constantly adding strong towers and buffing others is that the enemies themselves haven't received any buffs in years. The last major buff I remember is when speedies got the same HP as abnormals. If towers keep getting stronger long term but enemies don't, it's going to be problematic for the game's difficulty. Take the military base. It's ranked as an intermediate tower and can be obtained pretty early on. In terms of how the tower would perform by itself, a player could assume it'd go like this. It could solo easy mode by itself, beat molten mode with the help of another tower, and be absolutely incapable of soloing intermediate. Well, actually, the military base can solo easy, molten, and intermediate alone on specific maps. That is ridiculous for a tower that only costs 4,000 coins. If towers that come early on get buffed like that, without any compensation for the enemies, there's going to be a major problem in the terms of difficulty. But I haven't even mentioned the new towers yet. Out of the 3 towers added recently, I'll only be talking about 2 of them because this problem is unique to them specifically. The first tower I'll be talking about is the Brawler, a new addition to the gym exclusive towers. The Brawler's main gimmick is that it is a melee powerhouse that can do combos on enemies. The last hit of a combo can knock an enemy far back on the track if they aren't considered a boss. Familiar? That's because it is. The Brawler is just a direct upgrade from the Warden, and the Warden can't even make up for it. It can't stall infinitely, and its damage is lackluster when compared to Brawler. Furthermore, Brawler also has a relocation ability. The Brawler completely overshadows the Warden and can be used from early to late game. The Brawler is unmatched when compared to the other melee towers, making them unviable. The second tower following the Brawler is the Mercenary Base. The Mercenary Base spawns 4 troops along the path, those being a Rifleman for main DPS, a Demoman for crowds, a Rioteer for heavy damage, and a Medic for protecting the other 3 from stuns and dying. The Mercenary Base also has a 10% damage buff and a summon ability. The Mercenary Base is significantly similar to a Havent tower that came before it, the Elf Camp. The Elf Camp spawns 4 units, a single target snowball launcher, a melee swordsman, a AoE plane, and a ripped elf for large AoE and damage. The Mercenary Base is a massive upgrade from the Elf Camp, the only difference being the buff and ability it has. The Mercenary Base sweeps Elf Camp across the floor in terms of damage. Not only that, you can also edit what the Mercenary Base spawns, ensuring that you make the best out of it. This problem hasn't been unnoticed, and even the developers acknowledged it. Back in the Duck Hunt event, the developers stated that they didn't want to add an event tower because if they add too many, they could run out of ideas. However, they seem to have forgotten this, leading to the situation Mercenary Base and Brawler reside in. After the release of the Brawler, we got another update not too long after, the Consumables update. On paper, this sounds like a great idea, allowing players to use expensive power-ups in order to potentially salvage a run or smoothly beat some of the harder game modes. Consumables are a fine addition to the game, but the real question is why? Why did we need consumables in the first place if towers are as strong as is? Prior to the release of consumables, players could already strategize and optimally defend waves. There shouldn't be a reason to add something like this unless the players are actively complaining about difficulty. TDS was already in a solid state in terms of difficulty balancing. The sheer power curve the game is going through was already crazy enough, but now consumables just feel like a free win button if you feel like it. From a late game perspective, consumables aren't really necessary when you have strong towers that can deal with enemies on their own. However, for mid game and early game players, I can see why power-ups would be needed. Maybe you think otherwise on consumables, but at least you get the point. That's mostly it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it. It's great for me in this video. And if you want to see more content from me in the future, consider subscribing. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again later.